In the sayings of the Desert Fathers, those crazy early Christians who went out into the desert to try to live alone and be closer to God in some way, there's a story told about a man who was gradually losing his memory. And he would go again and again to one of the Desert Fathers, who was named Abba John, to ask for advice. But almost as soon as he left Abba John, he would forget what it was he had been told. And over time, gradually, he began to be aware that he was doing this, and other people were aware that he was doing this. And so he went to Abba John to apologize that he had been pestering him all this time and making no progress. And Abba John said to him, "Light a candle." So he did. And then Abba John said, "Okay, now light a second candle from the first." So he did. "Okay, now light a third candle from the second one." And he did. And Abba John said, "Well, here you see, the fire spreads and is in no way diminished. It doesn't matter how many times you light the fire from the original, it's always the same. Nothing is lost. No matter how much we take away from it, there will always be more there for us." Tonight we have with us the peace light. All of the candles that are lit in the church tonight were lit from the fire that came in that lamp. You may know that in Bethlehem there is a church called the Church of the Nativity, which by pious tradition is over the spot where Jesus was born. If you go down into the crypt of the church, where by Eastern Orthodox tradition Jesus was born in a cave, they believe a cave rather than a stable, there is an altar, and under the altar there are flames that burn all the time. Once a year, people go and light candles from those flames and then take them around the world. There is one national airline, I think it's Austrian Air or Swiss Air, one or the other, that lets their pilots go on their planes with these lamps lit once a year to take them back to Europe from the Middle East. And from there they spread all around everywhere else. There are also lots of places around the world, including places not too far away in the United States, where people keep the light lit all the time. In fact, that was where Father Jim and I went and got this flame a week and a half ago, up to Downingtown. There is a member of a Methodist church in Downingtown who has committed to be a light keeper. So she keeps the candle burning all the time in her fireplace and was able to come and bring it to us as well. And I brought it back here. You can imagine, it's a fairly fragile thing, a light like that. I really hadn't reckoned entirely how fragile it might be until I thought about the logistics of how I was going to get it and bring it back here. It's not easy to bring something on fire in your car and not risk something terrible happening. You may be sure I was careful where I kept it in my fireplace at home because I could just see the headlines, "Local pastor burns down own church on Christmas." I wasn't going to do that. But nonetheless, there was constantly the threat it was going to go out. I had lots of insurance. There have been 3 or 4 candles burning in my fireplace ever since I brought this back. Even now, although you can't tell it, there are 3 candles burning behind that lamp, just in case. Even so, fire is powerful, isn't it? It has the power to spread in ways that we might not predict, to consume whatever may be in its path, to take up whatever it may find that would be fuel. All of this, I think, should be in our hearts as we come once again to the manger tonight. We come in the full glare of human sin, of our disbelief and our seeking after power, our seeking after our own advantage, our anger at God, our anger at the world, whatever it may be that we carry with us. It's hard to see this thing God has done in the bright light of the middle of the day. It's really only in candlelight, in the flickering, that we begin to realize what it is that God has done for us. In this scandalous birth, this coming into the world in a way that even today would seem outrageous to us, that we would complain about, we would reject, and yet that has been the source of so much joy for so many generations ever since. So many holy people who have looked at this and seen in it the salvation not only of their own souls, but of the entire universe. It's only by seeing this weak little flame that begins. It will be so easy to blow out. that we are able to see how it is that God comes into each one of our hearts as well, not roaring in with bright lights and noise and commotion, quietly, almost secretly. And yet, dear friends, if we will once, only once, let the fire in, it will consume us. It will spread all through us, all through everyone we know, all through our world, to consume everything with the love and the zeal, the holiness of God. That is how we have to see this thing that begins tonight. A flickering light that nonetheless has the full power of God in it for you and for me. That candlelight, that weak light, is both the way we have to see it and what we're supposed to see. If we will only take it away in our hearts, if we will only carry it with us, if we will only share it, imagine what might happen. That is the gift that is given to us tonight, the beginning of something, a light that flickers, but nonetheless continues to burn. It will not be extinguished. It will only spread if you and I will only recognize it for what it truly is. Amen.